Gentlemen, what is going on today? My name is Ryan Mickler. I'm the host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. Excuse me, as I clear my throat there. Welcome here. Welcome back. I am grateful that you're here, whether you've been with us for this is your first episode or you've listened to nearly 1,000 episodes at this point. I'm still grateful that you're here, and we need more men in this fight. We really, really do. I was talking with my wife the other day about how I've just generally seen a decline in people's happiness, people's fulfillment, people's joy, people's purpose and direction. And I think a large part of that stems from not having strong, bold, courageous, capable men leading from the front, doing what needs to be done, and then helping the people in our lives do the same. Today, I'm actually starting with our main event, which is our big annual event we do each and every year. But I wanted to get this podcast to you. And specifically, I want to talk with you about something I've alluded to over the past several months now. And that is that my new book, The Masculinity Manifesto, there it is right there, if you can see it. The Masculinity Manifesto, How a Man Establishes Influence, Credibility, and Authority, is now available. So I thought what I'd do today is just give you a quick 30,000 foot view of what the book is about. And in the meantime, ask for your support by picking up a copy, by leaving a verified review on Amazon. That goes a long way in making sure that other people see what this work is all about. I get a lot of messages from guys who are wondering how they can share this message, or they can help a brother or a father or a cousin or whoever it might be. And one way to do that is by picking up a copy of the book. And I'll go so far as to say, not just giving them a book, because sometimes that can be overwhelming, but actually read it yourself. And what I would suggest that you do is get some post-it notes and find sections that are meaningful and significant to you, or you think would resonate with the guy that you're trying to serve, and just put a little post-it note on that section or that page, or multiple post-it notes if there's multiple sections or stories or anecdotes in the book that you think could serve somebody else. So that said, yes, that's my ask and my request from you. But also, I think this book is going to help you. As I was reading it, doing the audio version, and there is an audio version available now, I couldn't help but read it and be a little discouraged, because there were elements of the book that I thought to myself, man, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm not great in this department, I need help here. And so the first thing I want to say is that I am not the epitome of what I'm talking about, because I have a very, very long way to go. I have so much further to go, and I mess up so often, and I screw up, and I'm trying to realize where those inadequacies and shortcomings and all of the past, maybe even baggage or trauma that I haven't dealt with, these types of things that stem into other issues of my life. I couldn't help but think that I'm the biggest recipient of it, that this book was written for me. And if it was written for me, then I think it's probably written for you too, because I can't tell you how many times I hear from guys who are saying, man, you're telling my life story. Guys, we're all in the same boat. All right. We have some little variances, and maybe we work different places or we live in different areas, but we're all dealing with the same issues, the same struggles, the same past events that we're trying to work through, the same struggles currently. So hopefully this will serve. All right, let's get to it. I broke it down a little bit. I'm not going to disclose everything in the book, obviously, because for the sake of time. But if you like what you hear, again, pick up a copy. So the first thing I talk about is really what makes a man a man. Now, in society, there's this thing, and I hear from a lot of people that say, well, if you have the right anatomy, then you're a man. And that just isn't true. And why isn't that true? Well, I have 3 sons. I also have a daughter. But let's take my 3 boys. We don't call them men. They're young. They're still boys. We don't even expect them to be men. Now they have the right anatomy, right? That's what makes them male. But we don't call them men. Why? Because they haven't done certain things or developed certain characteristics or attributes, skill sets, virtues that we would generally consider manly. So being a male is a matter of birthright. You're a male. Contrary to popular belief, you're either a male or a female. Yes, I know there's the 0.001 outliers of that, but we are binary, male or female. And outliers don't disprove the norm that we are binary creatures. So being born a male is a birthright, but being a man is so much more than that. And so in the very first part of the book, I talk about what makes a man a man. And then we break it down into the archetypes. I've been talking about this for years. Protect, provide, preside. That's what makes a male a man. His ability to protect himself, his loved ones, and others, provide for, again, himself, others, and loved ones, and preside or lead himself, his loved ones, and others. Now, when a boy becomes a man, he is capable, or at least he's on the path of doing those things. It isn't like you do those for 10, 20, 30 years and you mess up along the way, and you will, just like I do, that you lose that quote unquote man card. If you're on the path and you're working to improve yourself, then you are acting manly, or you are being a man. It's really important that we understand this, even though people get it messed up all the time. Well, if you got a dick and balls, you're a man. No, that isn't true. Okay. You're a male, yes, but it's really important that we understand that being a man is earned. It's something that we have to go above and beyond. We have to do more, be more, become more, serve more, help more, and really step into these archetypes of manliness. From there, guys, I get into the mindsets of masculine leadership. It's important that we learn how to lead as men. It's important that we can control our emotions. It's important that we understand what our proper role in the leadership capacity is. And in the book, I break down 4 key masculine leadership traits or characteristics. One is leading before the title. You don't need the title in order to lead. In fact, you should be leading before you get the title, and the title comes. That's part of the influence, authority, and credibility, specifically authority. Another one is don't be a superhero. Another one is rendering yourself obsolete. These are masculine leadership traits and qualities that not many people are talking about, that we can incorporate and live by in our lives, and we can more adequately serve ourselves, serve our loved ones, and serve other people that we have some sort of obligation and responsibility for. My background is in financial services. I was a fiduciary. And so part of my responsibility was not just to create plans, investment strategies, and plans that were suitable for people, but that were in their best interest, a fiduciary. And it's our job as men to act in a similar capacity, to make ourselves strong, to make ourselves capable, to serve, to lead, to help, to inspire, to motivate, to push, to pull, to do whatever we need to do in order to serve in other people's best interest. And that's a burden at times. It's heavy. It's lonely. It's frustrating. And it causes us at times to falter under the weight. Imagine throwing a barbell on your back, 300 pounds of weight on your back, and walking and walking and walking and walking and walking. At some point, you're going to get tired. It's a burden to carry that. And so we need to be able to have the outlets to be able to help us continue to carry that burden with honor. So that's the mindsets of masculine leadership. And then the main meat of the book is harnessing masculinity for productive outcomes. So let me make sure I get this right, because sometimes people think I'm conflating terms, masculinity and manliness. Those are 2 different things, and we need to understand that. Now, we can get tripped up in semantics and we can debate and we can argue, but the principle is this. And I'm using the terms again, masculinity and manliness. If you interchange these terms, I don't care. The principle is what I'm getting at. Okay. Masculinity is nothing more than a set of characteristics, traits, and attributes that we attribute to men because of our biological makeup, primarily our hormones in utero and even into puberty and later on in life. Testosterone, namely, being the biggest factor. Okay, so masculinity, that could be determined by a propensity for violence, aggression, dominance, stoicism. These are vigilance. These are the types of things that I think a lot of society look at and deem as negative or destructive or dangerous or quote unquote toxic, but they're not toxic. So that's one camp. One camp says that masculinity, dominance, stoicism, aggression, violence, vigilance, these types of things are toxic. So we have to undermine them. We have to dig away. We have to root these things out of society. They are no longer needed. We are civilized, and that is something that we don't need anymore. That's one side. That's one camp. The other camp says, well, no, masculinity is inherently positive. Dominance, aggression, stoicism, competitiveness, et cetera, inherently positive. Well, that isn't true either. Let's take violence. I think we can all agree, if we're being logical about it, that men have a greater propensity for violence than women. right? That's not even open for debate. That is what it is. We have a greater propensity for violence than women do. If we're using that violence to get ahead at the expense of other people, we would all agree, except for the psychopaths, that that is not an effective use of masculine characteristics. So masculinity is not inherently toxic, but also it's not inherently positive. It just is. Again, it's a set of characteristics, behaviors, and virtues or attributes that we generally link with men because of their biological makeup. It's amoral. It's how we use it that matters. And so manliness is the ability to take our masculinity, those attributes I just described and more, and harness them for productive outcomes for ourselves and other people. And we get this wrong a lot. All of us do. Anger is one I deal with. Impatience, where I use my desire to control or dominate to get people to do what I want, to control them, to manipulate. Right? That's not an effective use of it. But what is effective is making sure that we're using it so we can produce positive outcomes for the people in our lives. And that's what I talk about as a main subject of this book is harnessing those masculine characteristics like violence, vigilance, dominance, stoicism, aggression, honesty, self-respect, where we can use these things and we can use them to serve ourselves and other people effectively. That's the meat of the book because we all experience it. We all have it, and we've all used it for negative outcomes, and we've all used it for positive outcomes. I'm going to show you how to harness it more effectively for more and more positive than negative. And guys, the last thing I talk about is living like a man. How do we then take all this information and act? Because aren't we defined by what we do? We're not defined by what we think. We're not defined by our intentions. We're defined by our actions, what we do, how we perform, how we show up, how we make people feel, what we produce, what results that we get. So living like a man is not just reading this book, although reading is important, gaining new information is important, but we must turn it into wisdom, which is applied information. The more that we can turn this information into wisdom, which is practical application, the more manly we are becoming. So guys, if you want, admittedly, I'm biased, obviously it's my book, but if you want a book or a subject or information on how to make yourself a more capable, stronger, bold, courageous, assertive leader with influence and credibility and authority in the eyes of the people you love and even complete strangers, whether that's your family, your friends, colleagues, coworkers, neighbors, people on PTA, coaches, employees, et cetera, then the Masculinity Manifesto will hopefully be that sort of resource for you. That's it. That's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Again, admittedly, a little bit self-serving, but also not entirely, because the words in this book, I believe, are going to serve you. Because if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't have spent all the time and energy writing this book. So if you would, again, please pick up a copy of the Masculinity Manifesto, How a Man Establishes Influence, Credibility, and Authority. Amazon is probably best. We're going to have some signed copies here in the next several days or weeks on my website with some added little bonuses. So that's coming. And then leave the review. That's a big deal. Leave the review on Amazon. Let people know what you thought about the book, because that's what helps us get it out to more people. And you know as well as I do, this message of reclaiming and restoring masculinity needs to go to the masses. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you. I'll be back next week. Until then, go out there, take action, pick up that copy of the Masculinity Manifesto, and become the man you are meant to be.